Matt in Texas is asking, at what point would you start buying the dollar again instead of shorting it?
Yeah, it's on a down day. I mean, so the dollar it's still bearish trend, but it's bullish trade. The beginning of let's go through that because Darius.
Yeah, that's the first I've heard that, so I need to see this.
So the trade. This is a really important difference. You have trade. You have trend. We also have tail. Let's just focus on the relationship between A, trade, and B, trend. When they're both negative, trade and trend, it's super easy. You short like the dollar had been basically from May up until when I told you it was signaling higher lows. And actually up until today, the trade line for the US dollar index is 93.14. Okay, 93.14. So if it closes greater than 93.14, the dollar is now bullish from a trade perspective, but bearish from a trend perspective. This is where people who aren't good with their own cognitive dissonance really get screwed because they can't really handle the countervailing thought of this is bullish and this is bearish. This is the leading indicator of this doing what? Going bullish. All right? And what do? Like, what would get you to believe in the potential or the probability rising of that? Oh, I call this guy Darius Dale and I ask him, what quad are we going to? And it's actually not quad 2, Keith. So if it's quad 4, we got to paint the tape with some red there because quad 4 would make the dollar bullish trend and trade. Now to get above this, it's around something around 96-ish on the US dollar index. So it's got a lot of hay to bail. But between 93 and 96, with a 95% inverse correlation to SPYs, it doesn't matter.
That's a 10% drawdown immediately.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why I used the numbers on the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ's already down 8.2% pre the open. Down 8.2% versus its all-time
I'm
close.
talking about from here.
So if it's down 7% from here, it'll have a 15% drawdown, which if you're along the T triple Q levered long stupid ass position, you're going to get killed, right? And I meant it quite seriously. With that kind of a setup, this is the market that Powell built.
Yeah.
These aren't the things that he can't, whimsically talk about, like how he talks. He just, you need a certified lying lawyer to speak that way.
Yeah.
He got everybody fully loaded into this, and that's a major problem. And the U.S. equity futures understand that quite well. They're on their lows of the day, and they should be.
Well, and onto that point, right? We've always thought of markets as leading indicators for policy, whereas I would say most of Wall Street thinks, policy is a leading indicator for markets with their, don't fight the Fed, TINA nonsense. If the market wants more stimulus, either the fiscal or monetary variety or both, it's going to have to do something to get that, right? Like we have this awkward period right now where, Pump's talking about the fall vaccine, but the reality is, per Emily Evans, who runs our healthcare policy research, we're not going to have a broadly immunized population until the middle of next year, perhaps, maybe second quarter, summertime, who cares? There's an awkward period in there where you don't have, the impulse on fiscal monetary stimulus is clearly stalled out and turned negative over the last couple of months. And so, how do you bridge that gap? The market has to go down to get the Fed and the fiscal policymakers to react.
And I think what he said yesterday is that I got a lot of power tools. Like we're going to call it Powell tool. Powell tool. I got a lot of tools, and one of those tools is to buy stocks. But he doesn't want to do that before the election because that would be of all the things that this Fed's done, that would be beyond ridiculous.
Jump in the shark
as
times
your
1,000.
legacy, like really. like you're using Trump's words to describe how powerful you and great you are, and then you buy stocks in like October ahead of the election.
Yeah.
I don't think he can do it, but I have an open mind to it. So what he's saying instead is, Nancy, just do something else. And so there's going to be an increasing pressure on the market to provide more stimulus. Now, how do you, as a Senate Republican, sign off on more stimulus without acknowledging it's not a V-shaped recovery?
I know, exactly. You can't sell this recovery narrative and also say we're going to do $2 trillion more in fiscal stimulus.
Because we absolutely need it.
Totally.
Well, these people absolutely do need it.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be clear. 150 million Americans are in a very bad financial position, i.e. no cash left, okay? So and Powell's sitting there with a shit-eating grin saying, well, we had some inflation of food prices due to shortages. Shortages of what? Shortages of days that you came out and said you're going to devalue the dollar. I mean, these people are on the edge right now, and you are inflating their cost of living. That's just a fact, okay? So anyway, let's take another question.
Yeah, just before that, speaking of poop-eating grins, the Financial Times is out with a big story today about how your former creditor, your former employer rather, you and Powell's former employer, you guys used to work together, Carlo, was effectively saddling their portfolio companies with debt and then using the proceeds from the debt sales to pay themselves dividends.
Oh,
So thank God the Fed fixed the junk bond market.
sweet.
Uneffing believable.
Rubenstein, those guys. Well, they're all lawyers, right? The guys who ran Carlyle, the three guys are all lawyers.
They figured out how to game the
And then they got Powell to be head of the Fed, who's also a lawyer.
Bingo.
There you go.
Yeah. No, we're going to audit them and we're going to monitor their behavior in real time. Whether or not anything changes, we'll see. But we're definitely not going to be among the silent minority.